5 signs you shouldn't write a book, yet. The title question isn't doubt, it's an acknowledgement, and a useful one. It can save you days, months, even years of work aimed in the wrong direction. Writing, at its core, is hunger. It's pressure, something that builds up and needs unloading. Yes, you can be mechanical, you can produce a short story every month, build a catalog, and live off the royalties. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a craft. That's a living. But don't confuse productivity with art. Some writers are prolific. They produce classics the way others change socks. Others write one book, just one, and leave something behind that outlives them. Wuthering Heights, Gone with the Wind, To Kill a Mockingbird. Different writers, different paths. If you're aiming to leave something that lasts, there are 5 things worth considering before you begin. Before I begin, a clarification. I'm talking about writing, not publishing. If you step into this with a profit and loss spreadsheet already attached, you're placing weight on both the work and yourself before it's had time to breathe, especially as a first-time writer. Build your audience while you write, not when you're rushing toward the end. People invest in authors as much as they do books. In today's landscape, much like the music industry, volume dominates and crafted work risks becoming background noise. There are exceptions, but they're rare. I've personally chosen the long game. Decades of reading and thinking about world building. Nearly 5 years, finally writing 5 novels through multiple drafts, and building story matrices for 7 more projects mapped out ahead. Doing it this way, like any other way, comes with no guarantees. But for me, it builds a world through love of the craft, shaped by 40 years of learning, 5 years of writing, and 18 months of organic awareness, not pressure from deadlines, algorithms, or likes. With that being said, let's see if my list of 5 resonate. Number 1. You don't know what your story is about. Having an idea isn't the same as having a story. Before you start, you need to know some fundamentals. What kind of world does this take place in? Who is it for? Is this fiction, memoir, or something in between? These aren't creative restrictions. They're the minimum required to aim your work. Tone matters just as much. Is this hopeful, bleak, reflective, or quietly funny? If you don't decide early, you'll either drift or end up rewriting most of the book later. Both are expensive in time and energy. Most importantly, you need to know who the story belongs to. Even books with multiple points of view usually have one central spine. Your protagonist's wants, fears, and needs are the engine of the story. If you can't clearly articulate those, you don't yet know what the story is about. Why it matters. All novels require editing, but confusion at the foundation multiplies the workload. A story without a clear focus balloons in length, loses momentum, and becomes harder to finish. That's not inspiring, it's exhausting. Readers can feel when a book lacks cohesion. Writing isn't like reading. You can't simply move from page 1 to the end and expect it to hold together. Strong stories require forethought, even when they're emotionally driven. Even writers like Charles Dickens, who wrote in installments without the luxury of revision, show the strain of that process. Unless you're working at that level, it's wiser to shape the story before you commit fully. How to fix it. Writing purely on vibes can be useful for practice, but it's a risky way to approach a full novel. Instead, step back and clarify the core, the protagonist's flaw, the central problem, and what must change by the end. Once you understand that, your outline doesn't need to be rigid. It can be loose, flexible, and responsive to discovery. The key is knowing where you're heading, even if the path shifts along the way. Planning isn't about limiting creativity. It's about giving your story enough structure to survive the journey. Number 2. You think you know everything about writing. Maybe you understand story planning and have always been a strong writer. You've done the courses, exercises, and short pieces. It's easy to assume a novel is just more of the same. It isn't. Writing is a craft with no finish line. Language, culture, and technology change. What felt modern once dates quickly, like the bonfire of the vanities, where the mobile phone was a cutting-edge symbol in 1987. Saying you've arrived stops growth. Books are built through revision, curiosity, and staying open to learning, not certainty. How to fix it? Learning to write isn't just about consuming advice, it's about applying it. Read craft books, yes, But test those ideas in your own work. Rewrite scenes, experiment, fail safely, read widely too. Reading recalibrates your sense of what works and why. It sharpens instinct and taste. And yes, AI. A loaded word for writers, but useful when handled properly. Used well, it can support research, brainstorming, timeline checking, foreshadowing, and structural thinking. It doesn't replace judgment or voice. Writing still improves through curiosity, not certainty. Stay teachable, and you're already ahead. You don't want any critique. As a Dune fanatic, I know this well. Frank Herbert faced over 20 rejections, endured countless poor reviews, and had serious doubts about his own work. Dune was eventually taken on by Chilton Books, a publisher best known for car manuals, not science fiction. Even Landmark Books arrived through resistance. Reviews aren't written for writers, they're for readers. Trying to control that conversation is a losing game. If you aim to please everyone, you'll please no one. Dislike means you made choices. Critique isn't the enemy. Editors and readers reveal blind spots you can't see yourself. If criticism scares you, that's human. If you can't tolerate it yet, it doesn't mean never, just not yet. Number 4. You want to write a book as fast as possible. Wanting to finish feels good. Wanting it over with is different. If speed is the goal, you're completing a task, not building a book worth living with. If you've never written a novel, it's easy to underestimate the scale. A novel isn't just drafting words, it's discovery, collapse, rebuilding, revision, and restraint. Each stage matters, and skipping any of them comes at a cost. Rushing early only creates more work later. Deadlines exist, but readers can feel when a book has been rushed. Stories need time to settle, reveal what's broken, and show what they want to be. Pulling a book out of the oven early rarely ends well. Speed also invites shortcuts. Tools can help with organization, but no system replaces thinking, rewriting, or living with a story long enough to understand it. Clean sentences alone don't make a novel. Speed versus efficiency. The goal isn't writing faster, it's writing better with the time you have. Efficiency comes from removing friction, not skipping steps, prioritizing writing, cutting distractions, and outlining enough to avoid freezing or deleting everything. Creative work isn't a race. If you're trying to outrun the process, it usually means you're not ready for what it demands. Yet, finishing matters. How you finish matters more. Next, you don't want to edit your book. Outlining may be optional. Editing isn't. Many first-time writers, even with excellent grammatical and literary skills, think a book is finished when the last chapter is written. It isn't. Editing, revising, reshaping, rewriting often takes longer than drafting. That's where the book becomes a story. Each writer leaves their own DNA on the page. If Frank Herbert wrote an untitled short piece, you would know it was his writing. Could someone say the same about yours? Editing isn't just proofreading. It means rethinking structure, cutting what fails, strengthening what works, and fixing problems only the writer can solve. These choices can't be outsourced. They are the craft. Why an editor can't do it all for you? Editors aren't magicians or replacements for authorship. You can't hand over a rushed draft and expect someone else to make it your book. Even with an editor, the work still comes back to you, and full end-to-end fixing would be too costly for most writers. This isn't gatekeeping. Editing is how writing becomes clear, durable, and strong. Avoiding revision isn't avoiding effort. It's avoiding the moment where writing actually happens. If you don't want to edit, that doesn't mean never. It just means not yet. And finally, chances are you already have a sense of your own limits, the things that feel possible right now, and the ones that don't. This isn't a list of do's and don'ts, and it's not here to teach you how to suck eggs. It's here to remind you that you're not alone. Every writer runs into moments of doubt, resistance, or uncertainty. Recognizing them isn't a weakness, it's part of learning the craft. And if you're standing at the starting line, unsure of what comes next, that's exactly where this blog is meant to meet you. I could carry on and try to sound like a guru, but I'm far from that. I wouldn't even class myself as a writer. That's for the public to decide. For me, this has always been about the journey, one I knew I had to try. If I fail, so be it. At least I did what I set out to do. And if, by chance, someone thinks the work is okay, then I've already achieved more than I expected. With that said, I wish all authors, at every level, enjoyment in the craft. If this resonated, like, share, or comment. Till next time.